Hello, how may I help you?
Hello, is this Andrew?
It is. Who am I speaking with?
This is Sergeant Anderson from the Pasco Sheriff's Office. I got a message from Dade City Police Department that you were actually wanting to talk to a Pasco supervisor.
Yeah, that's correct. So my name is Andrew. I'm with Homeless Audits. What we do is we
Who?
homeless audits. I'm a
I've
data.
never heard of it. Okay.
No, we're not really, we're not, YouTube famous or anything like that. So you might, yeah, you might not understand, know who we are. But that's not what we do. We check on ordinances that are deprecated or antiquated after new case law, because obviously case law is established all the time. And in Florida, there's been a lot of case law have been established concerning panhandling ordinances, things like that. Even new case law established concerning camping on public grounds and things like that. So we're basically a group that goes and checks to see how they're being enforced, if it's within the standards of current case law. And we had.
Okay, so you're basically like a media.
No, we're not media at all.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm a data analyst. We're just so we're homeless advocates, but not media. We do litigation with other groups and stuff like that who are interested in the same things sometimes, and it has gone that direction. But we try not to. We're not very litigious. But yeah, the reason I'm calling you though is there was an interaction with several of your deputies and one of our auditors and myself for that matter. It was a Deputy Watson, and I don't know. I'm sure you're not a supervisor, but that's who the deputy we had interaction with as a primary. And he was he pointed out an ordinance that I was unfamiliar with in your county codes of I believe is 8-2. It was on the road usage ordinances. And
8-2.
hold on, maybe it's 18-2. Let me I'd have to pull it up. Let me see here. It was -1. Hold on. It is 82-1. Maybe let's see here. That one was qualitative data reviews. Let me just pull my paper up. Watson. So this one, let me stop that one. This was on 82-1.
82-1. And that's a Florida statute?
No, it's under a county ordinances.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not FSS, but county. And he was reading it, and it does absolutely have some legislation that deals with what hand-to-hand transmissions between a motorist and a pedestrian was written in there. And recently in 2024 there was the Messina versus Fort Lauderdale case, where the Florida Justice Institute was working on that case, and there was a recent decision where the court found that it was unconstitutional and enjoined the defendant in the case, which was the city of Fort Lauderdale, from enforcing it under an injunction. So that case set precedent, actually more clarified to cities and counties around the state of Florida, at least, that the hand-to-hand transmission is permittable under the constitutional rights. The sign things, the passively holding a sign by the road, was mostly from the Reed versus Town of Gilbert out in Arizona. It was a SCOTUS decision. So Clarence Thomas read that with a decision and established that content-based restrictions on freedom of speech are unconstitutional. They had to be content neutral. So the various things like that have kind of paved the way for how cities can deal with or can enforce things toward the panhandlers and homeless people in their area. So that's what we kind of handle. I don't know if everyone's aware of it, or it's just something we deal with. So in this interaction, Deputy Watson informed us of 82-1, and he actually brought up one piece in there about solicitation on or near a roadway, because in Hillsborough County, which is where we have a current case at, they have a ordinance that's on or near a roadway. So within 4 foot of a roadway, they say no solicitation. Well, in Pasco County is a little different. How y'all did it is that there's a definitions in your roadways includes 4 foot of the curbside, outside the curb of the road, so it's within the definitions, and then you have the no solicitation on a roadway, which then includes the same definition, including the 4 foot outside the roadway. It's kind of how it's written here. So it's very, very, very slightly different, but for all intents and purposes is the same ordinance. And because you're one county away, and we currently have a case in Hillsborough County, it just saves everybody time to kind of get everything together. Is that another one? You can answer that.
Hello?
Is that Dade City? Y'all be keeping me busy.
1 moment.
I'm on Dade City. I'm on the phone with Sergeant from Pasco. I'll give them a call. Can they give me a call back in 15 minutes? Okay.
Ma'am?
So what's going on now is that Florida's still got a lot of antiquated ordinances, and this is one of those that is has been addressed in the courts here, and so yeah, that's I'm wondering why Deputy Watson.
Are you wanting to file a complaint against Deputy Watson, or?
Well, I mean, Deputy Watson did not. He did not issue.
Sure what your
Well, he didn't issue citations, so we have to collect the citation first, because without damages, there's nothing to contest. And so in this particular interaction, Deputy Watson did not issue any citation or create a record of enforcement. But so in that case, I don't really, and he was professional. He was just misinformed. He was under the impression.
Basically, over the weekend,
You're trying to educate.
he'd have to do it.
The current,
essentially the sheriff's office. Well, so
Yeah.
one deputy's view doesn't. So sometimes
Sure.
we have deputies that maybe
Okay. All right.
aren't as informed as others, if you will. It's kind of the easiest way to put it. But typically speaking, this would be something that would be better served. I'm trying to figure out what your. So it's one deputy.
Yeah, the other ones that were with him.
I mean, we do have county ordinances and stuff that address that, and there's state statutes. There's
Hold on.
316 of the traffic laws. There's a lot of different ways to address panhandling.
Panhandling is a constitutional right, though. So hold on. Panhandling is a constitutional right. So it's very, very clear.
Well,
very clear.
I'm not going to get into. I don't want to get into a debate with you because I'm not a spokesman for the sheriff's office. That would have to be done by the public information officer. I'm not allowed to essentially.
Can we come and collect the ordinance violation? Because he was unwilling. He was unwilling to enforce.
I'm sorry?
What I'm getting at is Watson was unwilling to enforce 82-1 on the hand-to-hand transmission ordinance, or on the solicitation on roadway ordinance. He was unwilling to enforce them. We're kind of anxious to move on to the next city.
He utilized his discretion then, yeah.
So can we, so since the ordinance exists, the legislation's on the books, and we're looking to challenge that legislation, can we just come to the sheriff's office and commit the offense and then have it enforced?
Well, I thought you said you didn't receive a violation though.
Right, but we know now that that the legislation exists on your books. So we have to get the legislation repealed off the books. In order to do that, that
would be with the Board of County Commissioners. That wouldn't be necessarily the sheriff's office, because the laws and things are passed through the government, not necessarily. So laws are passed through the government, and then the sheriff's office enforces the laws.
Yes, so you're bound to enforce that law. So we can commit a violation of that law and get an enforcement and a citation for that violation. Right? I mean, are you telling us that you won't enforce it or something? I don't understand.
Essentially, depending on the situation, yeah. I mean,
So
any given scenario could land you a citation or even worse.
Yeah, we don't want to. We don't want it to be subjectively enforced, though. I mean, it should be, enforcement of something should be objective.
Well, it's not subjective. So law enforcement officers, when dealing with ordinances or traffic violations and things of that nature that are non-criminal,
yeah,
and even in some cases criminal, law enforcement has discretion. They're able to use discretion based on the situation, which is a good thing for the citizens because, somebody may have a very bad emergency, and hence why they're violating the speed. And so maybe the deputy's going to use discretion and not write that person a ticket because they're trying to get to the hospital.
But that type of discretion is a little different than it just
call an ambulance.
Well, that type of that's a great example. Let me give you another example that might happen. That a deputy sees an actual homeless person with very little means, and they enforce something that's unconstitutional on that person, and then somebody like myself, which is imploring them, asking them to objectively enforce the same ordinance on us because we have the means to challenge that, and they say that they won't do that. That would be a different type of subjective enforcement, wouldn't it?
That's a little bit of an opinion I would have.
Well, that's what we're asking. Can you issue us a?
Everybody's entitled to.
Well, no, that's not it. I'm asking you flat out. Can we come to your sheriff's office, can violate that ordinance, and have it objectively enforced on us? Indiscriminately, objectively enforced on us.
I don't know that you can. I don't know that you can violate the panhandle statute at our sheriff's office.
Sure, I can go right out in front of your sheriff's office and get a hand-to-hand transmission from a car passerby.
Well, it's not necessarily a hand-to-hand transmission. I think you need to read the. Well, I would encourage you to read it.
I did.
And be familiar with it.
I did.
That's normally what I tell folks.
Yeah.
Because interpretation can come into play as well. So it's not just hand-to-hand. There's more to it than that.
Well, there's several different areas, but hand-to-hand actually satisfies the nature of one portion of it, where solicitation satisfies the nature of another portion of it.